Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a 17th century idea about focus that is, well, it's pretty extreme. It says you have to give up not just the bad stuff, but the good stuff too. And you know what? It might be more relevant today than ever before. So let's start with a question we all kind of grapple with, right? When you really need to focus on something important, a big project, a relationship, a personal goal, what do you have to give up to make it happen? Well, according to the thinker we're looking at today, the answer is everything. Yeah, everything. It's a seriously bold, no compromises kind of answer, and that's the wild idea we're going to unpack right now. Okay, so the guy behind this is a Puritan writer named Isaac Ambrose, and his core idea, it's not some gentle suggestion like, hey, try to focus more. Nope, it's a hardcore directive for getting to a place of total, undivided attention. And I want you to pay close attention to the words he uses here. He doesn't just say look at Jesus. He says we have to take off our minds from everything else. It's that first part, the looking away, that he says is the most critical step. But this is where his argument gets kind of weird. I mean, everything. That's a huge word. Does he literally mean everything? Well, let's see exactly how he breaks that down. You'd think he'd start with the obvious stuff, right? Like, stop doing bad things. But nope, that's not where he goes. Ambrose starts with what he calls good things. You know, the stuff we'd normally consider virtuous and totally worthy of our time. He makes this point that even the most amazing people you can think of, saints, prophets, your personal heroes, are, at the end of the day, just followers themselves. They're great guides, for sure. But to see the real leader, you have to look past them. It's like they're a cloud that might be blocking your view of the sun. Okay, so after he tells us to look away from the good things, he finally gets to the stuff we were probably expecting, what he calls the evil things, or basically all the distractions the world throws at us. And he breaks these down into a really simple trio that pretty much covers it all: pleasures, profits, and honors. So first up is pleasure, specifically sensual pleasure. For Ambrose, the math is simple. You can't have your eyes fixed on the physical world and the spiritual world at the same time. It's one or the other. One gaze is always going to weaken the other one. Then he moves on to profits, worldly gain. And here, his language gets even more intense. He calls friendship of the world, which basically means the love of money and stuff, not just a distraction, but actual enmity. That's a strong word. It means hostility, like you're an enemy of the divine. And last up is worldly honor. This is all about reputation, wanting people to think well of you. Ambrose just dismisses this completely. He says it's like running around trying to catch a feather floating in the wind. I mean, even if you manage to grab it, what do you have? Something weightless, fragile, and pretty much meaningless. So you might be wondering, why? Why this super intense, radical demand to ignore everything else? Well, Ambrose doesn't just throw this idea out there. He actually backs it up with 6 specific reasons that are the bedrock of his whole philosophy. So here they are, the 6 pillars of his argument. And they're a mix of really practical stuff like you can only have one boss and some really deep theological concepts. Let's just zoom in on a few of them so we can really get what he's talking about. His first reason is super practical. Think about it. Your eyes can't physically look up at the sky and down at the ground at the exact same instant. It's impossible. And he says it's the same in life. You can't serve 2 masters, God and the world, because they're asking for completely opposite things from you. His third reason is all about value. He quotes the Apostle Paul, who basically said that when you compare everything the world has to offer with this ultimate spiritual goal, well, it's not just less valuable, it's completely worthless. And the original word Paul used, it translates to things like dung or garbage, stuff you would just throw away without a second thought. And his last reason really taps into something we all feel. You know that feeling? The world just throws an endless stream of things at us to look at, to want, to experience, and it never, ever satisfies us. Our eyes just get tired of jumping from one thing to the next, always looking for something new. But Ambrose argues that this singular divine focus, that's where you find rest. Okay, so we've walked through his whole argument. What's the big takeaway from this whole philosophy of a singular gaze? It really comes down to this. For Isaac Ambrose, true focus isn't about what you're looking at. It's all about what you are willing to look away from. It's a deliberate, almost aggressive act of tuning everything else out, even the good stuff, so you can finally see the one thing that he believes truly matters. And that's what makes this 17th century idea so challenging for us right now. We live in a world that is literally designed to pull our attention in a million different directions every single second. So his philosophy leaves us with a really tough question. In our age of infinite distraction, what, if anything, is actually worth our singular gaze?